Have you ever been judged before you even opened your mouth? Dismissed because of how you look or where you come from? This is the story of a woman who faced that exact moment, humiliated, underestimated, and disrespected in front of a crowd. But what happened next? She turned the tables in a way that left everyone stunned. This is a masterclass in justice, resilience, and transformation, a story you won't want to miss. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from today. If you love inspiring stories of triumph over adversity, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more powerful tales. Your support helps us bring these stories to the world. Now, let's get started. The mid-morning sun bathed the private jet terminal in a golden glow, its sleek glass facade reflecting the buzz of luxury travel. Limousines gleamed in the parking lot, their polished surfaces catching the light. Inside, elegantly dressed passengers moved with quiet confidence, their conversations blending with the faint hum of jet engines. Dr. Elena Harper stepped out of her black sedan, her heels clicking softly on the asphalt. She was the picture of poise, tailored blazer, silk blouse, hair swept into a sleek bun that shimmered under the sunlight. Calm and composed, she pulled her luggage behind her and approached the terminal entrance. The automatic doors slid open with a whisper, ushering her into a world of polished marble floors and soft leather seating. The air carried a faint scent of fresh coffee and luxury. Elena approached the check-in counter, where a sharply dressed attendant greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, ma'am," the attendant said, her voice professional. "May I have your name and flight details?" "Elena Harper," she replied, her tone steady. "I have a reservation for the private jet to Chicago." The attendant's fingers danced across the keyboard, her eyes scanning the screen. A slight frown crossed her face before she brightened. "Yes, Miss Harper, you're all set. The jet is ready, and the crew will board shortly. Would you like to wait in the lounge, or shall I escort you to the aircraft?" "I'll head to the jet now," Elena said. "Thank you." "Of course," the attendant replied, her smile widening. "It's gate 5, just past the VIP lounge. Have a wonderful flight." Elena nodded and made her way toward gate 5. Her footsteps echoed softly in the quiet hall, where plush carpet gave way to smooth tile. As she neared the gate, the jet came into view, gleaming like a polished gem under the sun. But as she approached, a uniformed man by the entrance caught her eye. Tall and imposing, his stiff posture and cold expression marked him as the captain. Elena offered a polite smile, but his face remained stone-like, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone clipped. "I'm here for the flight to Chicago," Elena said, her voice calm. The captain glanced at her suitcase, then back at her. A faint smirk tugged at his lips. "This is a private flight, ma'am," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "I think you're at the wrong gate." Elena raised an eyebrow but held her composure. "I'm aware. This is gate 5, correct?" "It is," he said, crossing his arms. "But this jet isn't for commercial passengers. It's for private clients." The word private carried a deliberate edge, meant to exclude. Elena felt the sting of his words but didn't falter. "I understand," she said firmly. "I am a private client." The captain's smirk deepened. He chuckled, shaking his head. "Look, ma'am, I'm not sure what you've been told, but this isn't the kind of flight you just book online. Maybe try the main terminal, they'll get you sorted." Elena's grip tightened on her suitcase, but her expression stayed serene. Before she could respond, another voice cut in. "Is there a problem here?" A flight attendant, clipboard in hand, approached. She glanced at Elena, then at the captain, her brow raised. "Just a mix-up," the captain said dismissively. "She thinks she's on this flight." The flight attendant's eyes swept over Elena, lingering on her shoes and luggage before meeting her gaze. There was a flicker of doubt in her expression. "Ma'am," she began, her tone neutral but skeptical. "Do you have any documentation?" A confirmation number or ticket? Elena reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and with a few taps, displayed the confirmation email. She handed it to the flight attendant, who scanned it, her eyebrows lifting in surprise before she masked it. "Well," she said, returning the phone, "everything seems in order. I'll inform the crew." The captain frowned, his jaw tightening. He stepped aside reluctantly, allowing Elena to proceed. As she passed, she felt his gaze, irritation and disbelief etched into his features. Elena took a deep breath and ascended the jet's stairs, each step a quiet defiance against the assumptions thrown her way. Little did they know, the real showdown was just beginning. The jet's interior was breathtaking: plush ivory leather seats, polished wood paneling, and the faint scent of fresh flowers and citrus. Crystal glasses gleamed on a small dining table, adorned with orchids. This wasn't just luxury, it was a testament to Elena's hard-won success, a mobile extension of her empire, but her moment of calm was interrupted. Captain Joel Carter boarded behind her, his posture stiff with irritation. The flight attendant, Aaron, whispered to another crew member, their glances darting toward Elena. "She doesn't belong here," Aaron muttered, her voice low but audible, laced with disdain. Elena paused, her hand resting on a seat. Her gaze met Aaron's briefly, and the flight attendant flushed, turning away. "Miss Harper," Captain Carter said, stepping forward, his tone overly formal, "I'm afraid there's been a mistake. This flight was chartered under specific arrangements, and, well, we need to follow protocol." Elena turned to face him, her expression unyielding. "I'm well aware of the arrangements, Captain," she said evenly. "I made them myself." Carter blinked, thrown off. "With all due respect, ma'am, these arrangements are highly exclusive. Perhaps you were misinformed." "By whom?" Elena asked, her voice sharp. "The aviation department of Harper Global? Or the executive team that manages this jet?" Carter's face faltered, doubt flickering in his eyes. "Harper Global?" "That's right," Elena said, folding her arms. "The company that owns this jet." "My company." Silence fell, heavy and tense. Aaron stepped forward, clutching her clipboard. "Ma'am," she began, her voice forced, "we weren't told the owner would be joining us." "You assumed," Elena cut in, her tone slicing through. "You assumed I didn't belong because of how I look." Aaron's face paled. "That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean?" Elena pressed, her gaze unwavering. "Because from the moment I arrived, I've faced nothing but hostility. If it wasn't about appearances, explain what it was." The silence was deafening. Carter shifted, avoiding her eyes. Aaron gripped her clipboard like a shield. The third crew member, a younger flight attendant, stared at her shoes. "Wishing to disappear. I'll tell you what it was," Elena continued, her voice steady but commanding. "You saw a black woman and decided she couldn't be in charge. Instead of checking facts, you chose to demean me." Carter opened his mouth, but Elena raised a hand. "I've heard enough. I don't have patience for excuses." She turned to Aaron. "You mocked me in front of others, treated me as invisible. Is that how you represent this company?" "No, ma'am," Aaron stammered, barely audible. You didn't mean to get caught," Elena said sharply. "Let's be clear about that." Carter, sensing the tide turning, stepped forward. "Miss Harper, we regret any misunderstanding. This is a learning opportunity. And we'll ensure it doesn't happen again." "A learning opportunity?" Elena repeated, her voice laced with disbelief. "You're mistaken if you think this is about reflection. It's about accountability." She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and made a call. "This is Elena Harper," she said, her voice firm. "I need the terminal manager at Gate 5 immediately. There's an issue with my jet's crew." The crew exchanged uneasy glances, their confidence crumbling. Elena ended the call and faced them. "I've worked too hard to tolerate this. You've made your assumptions clear. Now let me make something clear. Prejudice has no place in my company. You've embarrassed yourselves, not me. The cabin fell silent, her words hanging heavy. The terminal manager would arrive soon, but the crew already knew their fate was sealed. Elena sat calmly in one of the jet's plush seats, her tablet open as she reviewed a document, her composure unshaken. Outside, the sunlight danced on the jet's surface, a stark contrast to the tension inside. Captain Carter and the crew stood awkwardly by the door, their discomfort palpable. Minutes later, hurried footsteps announced the terminal manager's arrival. Mr. Rowland, a tall man in a navy suit, stepped aboard, his face flushed. "Ms. Harper," he said, nodding deferentially, "I apologize for any inconvenience." "What happened?" Elena looked up, her gaze steady. "From the moment I arrived, I was met with condescension and discrimination. They assumed I didn't belong based on how I look." Rowland's face reddened as he turned to the crew. "Is this true?" Carter mumbled, "A misunderstanding. We didn't know she was. You didn't know I was what?" Elena interrupted. "Your employer? The jet's owner? Or someone deserving of respect?" Rowland's jaw tightened. "Ms. Harper, I deeply regret this. It will be addressed." "I'm sure it will," Elena said, her tone resolute. "This isn't just about me, it's about your company's culture. This behavior reflects a larger issue, one I won't tolerate." Rowland nodded. "We'll implement any measures you deem necessary." "I've already taken measures," Elena said. "Effective immediately, Captain Carter and Aaron are relieved of their duties. They no longer represent my company." Carter's face drained of color. "Ms. Harper, please, I've been with this company for years. This was a mistake." "A mistake?" Elena echoed. "You humiliated me without checking facts. That was a choice, and it speaks to your character." Aaron, tears in her eyes, stepped forward. "I didn't mean any harm. Your intentions don't erase your actions," Elena said firmly. "Those actions have consequences." She turned to Rowland. "Ensure their termination is processed immediately. Make it clear to your staff, this behavior isn't tolerated. And conduct a full review of your hiring and training practices. Bias has no place here. I want a report within the week." Rowland straightened. "Yes, ma'am. It's done." Elena stood, her presence commanding. "Good." She paused, her gaze sweeping the crew. "Let this be a lesson. Respect isn't optional, it's required. Fail that standard, and there's no place for you here." With that, she descended the stairs, leaving the crew in stunned silence. As she stepped into her waiting car, a weight lifted from her shoulders. This wasn't just about her, it was about change, and she'd taken the first step. The car's engine hummed as Elena sat in the back seat, the tinted windows framing the sunlit tarmac. Her phone buzzed. Rebecca Langston, her executive assistant and confidant, was calling. "Elena," Rebecca said, her voice a mix of concern and curiosity. "I heard. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Elena replied. "It's handled." "Handled as in you didn't let it slide," Rebecca said, a smile in her voice. "Good. They needed a reminder of who you are." "It's not just about me," Elena said. "If they treat me like this, how many others get dismissed? People without the power to push back." "You're right," Rebecca said softly. "What's next?" "I've ordered a review of their practices," Elena said. "But that's not enough. This isn't the first time I've seen this in aviation, or anywhere. It's time to do more." "You're thinking of going public," Rebecca said. "Not about me," Elena clarified, gazing at the skyline. "About the bigger issue. Systemic bias. People need to know it's still happening, even in places that claim progress." "I'll draft a statement," Rebecca said. "Something broad, focused on the issue, not the incident. We can also reach out for diversity partnerships." "Do it," Elena said. And get the legal team to draft stricter anti-discrimination clauses for all Harper Global subsidiaries. This isn't about lawsuits, it's about standards. Done, Rebecca replied. And Elena? I'm proud of you. You didn't let it go. Even when it would have been easier. Elena smiled faintly. Thanks, Rebecca. Talk soon. As the call ended, the car turned onto a quiet road lined with towering trees. Elena leaned back, her thoughts drifting to the battles she'd fought to get here. Being underestimated wasn't new, she'd faced it in boardrooms, negotiations, even social events. But each time, it stung. Her driver, Marcus, glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Everything okay, Miss Harper? She met his gaze with a nod. Just another day, Marcus. He smiled, his eyes warm. He'd seen her navigate countless obstacles, many invisible to others. As the car pulled into her estate's driveway, Elena's phone buzzed again, a text from her brother, Darnell. Heard about the terminal. Proud of you, sis. You always stand up for what's right. Here if you need me. Her chest tightened with emotion. Darnell had been her rock since childhood, and his words grounded her. She stepped out of the car, the grand stone facade of her home rising before her, a testament to her journey from humble beginnings to global influence. In her office, surrounded by bookshelves and soft afternoon light, Elena sat at her desk. She opened her laptop and began typing notes for Rebecca, ideas for partnerships, organizations to support, ways to turn her vision into reality. But as she paused, she reflected on the crew's faces when the truth hit. She didn't relish their downfall, but she hoped it was a wake-up call, not just for them, but for everyone. Closing her laptop, Elena's resolve hardened. She wouldn't stop until respect and equality were the foundation of every space she touched. The evening sun cast an amber glow over Elena's terrace, where she sat with a cup of chamomile tea. The garden swayed gently, but her mind buzzed with the day's events. Her brother Darnell leaned back across from her, a sparkling water in hand, his calm presence steadying her. You're too quiet, he said, watching her closely. Talk to me. Elena sighed, her shoulders easing. It's not the first time, Darnell. But I keep wondering, how much can one person change? He nodded thoughtfully. You've been changing things your whole life, Elena. Whether you see it or not. She smiled faintly. I can fire people, set policies, but does it shift the needle? Or just push the problem elsewhere? Darnell leaned forward. Listen, little sister, you're Elena Harper. When you act, people notice. They talk. They reflect. Sometimes, that's enough to start a ripple. Elena's gaze dropped to her teacup. What about those without my platform? The ones silenced because no one listens? That's why you're doing this, he said firmly. Not just for you, for them. You're building something bigger. His words settled over her, a quiet affirmation. She sipped her tea, feeling grounded. Later, in her office, Elena typed an email to Rebecca, subject, expanding our reach. Rebecca, let's go beyond training and policies. I want a platform that champions diversity and inclusion across industries. Plan a summit, bring together leaders, advocates, and marginalized voices. Focus on actionable solutions, not just talk. Set up a fund for scholarships and mentorships, something real that opens doors. Let's make this count. Hitting send, Elena leaned back, her mind racing. This wasn't about one incident, it was about reshaping the culture that allowed it. The next morning, Elena's vision took shape. Rebecca responded with enthusiasm, her team already compiling partners for the initiative. The summit would be ambitious, but Elena felt renewed purpose as she reviewed plans. Later, a letter arrived at her office, unmarked. Curious, Elena opened it, revealing neat handwriting. Dear Ms. Harper, I was at the terminal yesterday and saw how the crew treated you. I saw you stand your ground. I've worked in this industry for a decade and seen things that made me question why I stay. But your strength gave me hope. Change is possible, even where it feels impossible. Thank you, sincerely, a witness. Elena's heart swelled. This single letter, from someone she'd never meet, reminded her that every action rippled outward. She tucked it into her drawer, a symbol of her purpose, and returned to work with fierce determination. Weeks later, Elena stood backstage at the summit, Voices of Change. The grand hall glowed with sunlight, its glass walls casting prisms across the marble floor. Over 1,000 attendees, leaders, advocates, and everyday voices, filled the space, their anticipation electric. Rebecca gave her a nod. Ready? Elena smiled. Ready. The lights dimmed as she stepped onto the stage, her presence commanding silence. Good morning, she said, her voice resonating. Today isn't just a gathering, it's a call to action. A chance to confront hard truths and build something better. She shared her journey, not just the terminal incident, but a lifetime of facing prejudice. When I was dismissed at that gate. It wasn't new, she said. But I realized my story isn't unique, it's part of a pattern. Today, we break that pattern. The day unfolded with raw energy. Panels shared stories of struggle and triumph, workshops challenged biases, and leaders pledged measurable goals, hiring targets, mentorships, equitable practices. A young intern, Lila, spoke powerfully about inclusive workplaces, earning a standing ovation. Elena watched, pride swelling. This was her vision realized. At the closing reception, Elena mingled, thanking attendees. Mariana, a key consultant, raised her glass. To a future built on action. Elena clinked her glass. To a future where no one is silenced. That night, in her journal, Elena wrote, Today, I saw what's possible when we listen with open hearts. Courage in stories, hope in commitments. This isn't the end, it's the start. I'll keep fighting, because the world we're building is worth it. What began as a moment of prejudice became a powerful reminder of accountability and the fight for respect. This isn't just one woman's story, it's a call to stand against injustice. If this moved you, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell so you don't miss more stories like this. Together, let's amplify voices that matter and build a world where everyone is valued.